To say Revamp is a passion project of Boun's is like saying Boun loves Prem. Like, it's accurate, but it also necessitates me saying a whole lot more to fully drive home the point. If you've been a fan of Boun from any point since 2020, you've probably seen or heard Boun talking about his love for vampires.
เกี่ยวกับแวมไพร์
I know Prem has.
เราอะเป็นตัวตูนได้1 วันเราจะเป็นตัวอะไร
อยากเป็นแวมไพร์ครับ
ครับผมสบายครับ
Back in 2020, Boun started his campaign to star in a vampire series by talking about it literally any time he could mention it. He even offered to do it for free.
ก็ถ้าเกิดมีซีรีส์แนวแฟนตาซีแวมไพร์ก็ติดต่อบุญได้นะครับเล่นให้ฟรีครับผมเล่นให้ฟรีครับผมชอบเล่นให้ฟรีเลยบอกเลยดูไม่เอาหน้าผู้จัดการยังเอาดาบใจเย็นสิดูหน้าผู้จัดการยังผู้จัดการก็คือระหว่างที่ถ่ายไม่มีเงินเดือนนะ
ไม่พี่ต้องควักเงินตัวเองให้ผู้จัดการแล้วก็ถูกปะ
That's like the number one sign that something's a passion project. Boun was fixated on getting a vampire series for himself even as the world focused on his and Prem's roles as WinTeam in the 2019 series Until We Meet Again. And in 2021, Boun decided to stop hoping for an opportunity to be given to him and took his destiny into his own hands. In summer of 2021, Boun got the ball rolling by booking a vampire-themed photo shoot for himself and releasing some of the photos on his social media.
สีผมใหม่ใช่เพิ่งไปทำมาวันนี้คือกำลังจะมีโปรเจกต์อยากทำแบบเขาเรียกว่าอะไรถ่ายแมกกาซีนของตัวเองอะไรอย่างนี้เป็นลุคแบบแวมไพร์ก็ตอนนี้ตัดชุดเสร็จแล้วชุดประมาณลงทุนกับค่าชุดประมาณ 30,000 ยังไม่รวมค่าสตูค่าอะไรอีกอะค่าช่างแต่งหน้าค่าอุปกรณ์หลายอย่างน่าจะหมดอีกเยอะเลยค่ากล้องอีกค่าช่างกล้องอะไรอย่างนี้ใช่ครับผมก็รอดูไม่รู้คิดอยู่ว่าจะทำเป็นโฟโต้บุ๊กออกมาดีไหมเพราะแบบก็น่าจะมีแบบเขาเรียกว่าอะไรคนอยากเห็นเหมือนกันก็เลยแบบน่าทำออกมาดี
Then, after fans clamored for a photo book, he released one of those in early 2022. Between Us had been in production hell throughout this period due to COVID, and Boun Prem didn't have anything lined up to follow it, so New, apparently, saw enough of Boun's dewy anime eyes to let him have his vampire series. The first announcement for it was at Wabi Sabi's 2022 showcase with just a poster featuring the title, My Broccoli, so anyone who's made fun of Revamp hasn't been in the trenches with the rest of us. To Boun's credit, I'm pretty sure it was just a working title, and it was also a tribute to their fandom's name, Broccoli. After Between Us finished airing in early 2023, Boun Prem needed some time to recalibrate what their future as a pair would look like, and if indeed they'd have a future at all. Between Us had been a nightmare to produce, announced in May of 2020 and delayed by COVID regulations over and over again until it finally aired in late 2022. Boun and Prem had spent most of that time doing side roles and cameos, so with their main project finished, Prem wasn't sure what he wanted to do going forward. After discussing it, Boun and Prem decided to proceed together and focus their energy on bringing Boun's vampire series to life. Communication! At this point, Prem was freelance and Boun was under Studio Wabi Sabi, whose CEO New Siwaj famously took Boun in at a point in his career when he'd experienced a great deal of disappointment, exploitation, and abuse. When New cast Boun as Win in Until We Meet Again, Boun had been on the brink of leaving the industry entirely, and only his breakthrough performance, the fan support that ensued, and Prem's quiet, unwavering support revived his motivation to stay active. Boun had spent 7 years trying to land a lead role, and even though Win was a third-tier character with only 37 minutes of screen time combined across 17 episodes, fans went absolutely feral for him and his chemistry with Prem, and the fandom that grew around them was an overwhelmingly warm and peaceful place to be. New, as the only full-time director at Wabi Sabi, was signed on to direct the unnamed vampire series. But He gave Boun an enormous amount of creative control in the pre-production phases. He clearly knew this was important to Boun, so he let Boun steer everything from the scriptwriting to producing the fitting photo shoot, to seeking sponsors as far away as Japan. In 3 years, Boun had gone from begging someone to give him his dream to building it brick by brick himself. And just as a side note, it's hard to overstate how much of a familial atmosphere New created with Wabi Sabi. As a smaller studio led by an openly gay CEO, actors had a lot of freedom of expression, and New took in a number of openly queer actors and crew into a safe, warm environment that enthusiastically facilitated, but didn't enforce, fan service or shipping. One need only look at how Earth has flourished to know that this has been a safe place for queer expression. The studio and the company might not have been the financial success it could have been in different circumstances, but I still think it's a great achievement, and I hope New is very proud of what he's been able to accomplish. The first pilot teaser for Boun's Vampire series dropped in the 2023 Wabi Sabi Showcase under the working title Vampire Project, which is a step up from My Broccoli. Soon afterward, though, New seemingly made the decision to downsize Wabi Sabi, mostly closing down the agency portion to focus more exclusively on producing series. In 2024, a large chunk of Wabi Sabi actors transitioned over to the larger GMMTV, who also took over the rights to Boun Prem's fledgling vampire series. Boun Prem were a big get for GMMTV, a pair who formed in 2019 who have never taken significant time apart. They've had a steadily growing fan base throughout the years despite their unconventional path to success. Not only are they stable, they also apparently have one of the strongest fandoms as far as financial support goes, so it's rare that they're not working. In spring of 2024, GMMTV presented a new version of the pilot teaser at their own showcase under the new name Revamp, The Undead Story. As also happened when Sodus made the jump from smaller studio Fellow to GMMTV back in 2016, some of the sidecast actors were replaced with in-house GMMTV actors, but of course, the leads remained the same. The existing script underwent heavy revisions throughout 2024, with GMMTV CEO Ta himself making the notable choice to shift the focus from an action-heavy plot to something more romance-centered between Ramin and Poon. This wasn't surprising, as Boun himself had said after the first pilot teaser aired with Wabi Sabi that its contents might not reflect the actual tone of the finished series.
เอาจริงๆตัวเนี้ยอาจจะไม่ใช่มูดแอนโทนจริงๆของเรื่องคืออาจจะยังมาไม่ทั้งหมดใช่ผมรอติดตามดูดีกว่าว่ามันจะเป็นยังไงครับใช่ครับ
As far as I can tell, Boun has still largely had control over the direction of the series. It's also worth noting that both pilots were more about aesthetics than story, and the focus of a pilot is to drum up sponsors, so neither pilot had much in the way of story beats. In fact, before the tie-in novel was published this past spring, we didn't actually know what the story would be. Filming began in early 2025, and the trailer dropped on August 5th. Boun lost his ever-loving mind on Twitter, celebrating his triumph after a long, long journey, and Boun Prem's fandom are now in collective ecstasy, waiting for the first episode to drop on Saturday, August 23rd, 2025. And that's what you missed on Glee!